keeping up with the talk of Hall of Fames, and I did tease Owen Hart there. I'm sure you guys, it's been well documented for many years now how Martha Hart is just hell-bent on not allowing the WWE to induct Owen Hart into the Hall of Fame. She doesn't want to have any and everything to do with the WWE. You know, she has tried to take them to court a couple of times when she felt as though these guys were using his name and likeliness to, you know, make a profit off of him. And, you know, she has just been feuding with them, and it's got multiple people on different sides of the Hart family going, what the hell is going on? Of course, Bret Hart being the most vocal, saying, look, you know, before he was your husband, he was my brother. So if anybody really knows about the man, it's me. You know, Bret, he's really, and I get it, man. I mean, you can't really help but feel for Bret Hart. You can't help but feel for Bret Hart from the standpoint of Bret could possibly be leaving this earth within maybe the next 10, 15 years, 20 tops, and he'll never be able to see his baby brother go into the Hall of Fame. He'll never be able to have that moment in representing the Hart family, being on that podium, looking at the massive amounts of people, you know, the peers and everybody that grew up working with Owen. Right? He's not going to have that opportunity to speak to the massive amounts of Owen's peers and the fans that have done their part in keeping his name alive over the years. Yeah, many, many years upon years. And that's a tough pill to swallow. I totally get that, where Bret Hart is possibly coming from and wanting to see some type of resolution come about, right? And you don't need to get into the whole spiel about, well, this week Bret Hart said this, and then a couple of days later Martha said that. It's just well documented. I'm just bringing it up because past 2 weeks they've been getting into it again. It just led me, I teased this idea earlier, but I didn't expand upon it any further. And I really want to expand upon it right now because I want to take this a step further than people saying, oh, Martha, just loosen up already. I want to take it a step further than that. If Martha, and I really hope that the Hart family finds this. Lord knows there's been a few members of the Hart family over the years that have come across my interview with Julie Hart, the ex-wife of Bret Hitman Hart. Great interview that I did with her many years ago. I would highly recommend you guys check it out. It's on the guest exclusive section on the YouTube page of the RCWR Show. Very wet behind the ears as far as really starting to find my niche, my groove, as far as interviewing people and everything. You can tell how inexperienced I was, but it was sincerely a really great conversation that I had with Julie Hart, because it wasn't so much an interview, right? It was more like a conversation that you were listening in on, and it was great. But I've had a lot of people from the Hart family either comment or send me a private message and everything. So I really hope that what I'm getting ready to say, it finds them, and this can begin to catch some type of fire and eventually get back to Martha, because I'm curious how she would counter this. But if Martha really feels that WWE at this point, they are going to try to do any and everything to monetize on the likeliness off of the career of Owen Hart, right? If they just want to do this just to be patting themselves on the back and all this other crap, I have a simple solution to all of this. I say, Martha, give the Hart family what they want. Give them the proper closure that they need. Give the people that worked with Owen Hart in and out of that ring all the way up until his unfortunate passing. Just a sad passing that it was at that. Give them the opportunity to properly be able to have closure as well. And I say, go ahead and do the Hall of Fame, but do the Hall of Fame under these conditions. Number one, it is a private Hall of Fame ceremony. What I mean by that is every single year we get okay, these people are going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Here's the 8, 9, 10, 12 people that's going to be in the Hall of Fame this year, right? And we know that that's going to always be streaming on the WWE Network, and then later it streams on the USA Network, right? And then afterwards, a couple of months down the road, it eventually makes its way to DVD, and you can go pick it up wherever, right? Well, no. I say that with regards to Owen Hart, sometime out of the year, just one time out of the year, way before WrestleMania weekend, way before, months and months before, you let it be a situation where rent out some nice fancy little restaurant, kind of go back to the old days, the way that they used to do it. Eat at this nice restaurant or have some nice catering that comes there or what have you, and there's a nice little stage, and, you know, almost kind of reminds me of the DC Improv, basically. You know, for those of you that maybe have gone to your fair share of improv clubs, basically. You know, you could do it like that. And it's private that way. That way it is for the family. It is for close friends of the family. You could definitely limit the amount of media that would be there to cover the event. You could definitely have your Dave Meltzer. You could also have your Bill Apter, right? You can have the USA Today. You could have Washington Post. You know, your main, top 10 media outlets. Definitely get your representation for the wrestling outlets, the well-respected ones that's going to tell it correctly right down the middle, right? But let it be closed off that way. Maybe you could have just a few seats available for fans, but this is really a intimate type of ceremony that you're going to be doing. No filming is allowed whatsoever. That's how you can do it. If Martha is really concerned about WWE trying to make a profit and all of this other stuff, then I would say, okay, Martha, if you're really that concerned about WWE just trying to make a profit off your late husband any way that they can get, then have them agree to these terms. Another thing that you can add into the kitty, if they do want to film this event, then guess what? This event, by no circumstances, can it stream on the WWE Network, on WWE social media pages, including YouTube, right? No, can't go that route. You want to put that on DVD, 100% of all proceeds go to Martha's Foundation. I mean, you talk about a win-win situation. All right. I don't know what much more. It doesn't get any sweeter than that as far as I'm concerned. I think once you lay those conditions out, one would have to say, so Martha, what do you say? If WWE is even willing to meet you on these conditions, would you then accept Owen Hart going into the Hall of Fame? Like, now it's really time for you to put your money where your mouth is. Are you really that concerned about WWE making some type of a profit and everything that, and I get that. Could you agree to do a Hall of Fame under these conditions? Or are you that hurt? Is your heart that broken? Because in your eyes, even though it was an accident, his death could and should have been prevented, that you just can't let it go. I think once you get to that real fine line right there, only Martha in her heart can really answer that question. And she's still a relatively young woman. So for those of you that's going, well, surely we won't have to deal with her in a couple of more years. Martha's still a pretty young woman. I believe she's only 51 years of age. I remember checking a couple of weeks ago, and I'm going, and she looks relatively healthy. She looks like she's in her mid to late 40s. So, I mean, she's aged very well over the years as far as I'm concerned. So, for those of you that's maybe hoping that, maybe a couple of more years and, You know, maybe they, won't have to deal with her. Maybe they can deal with the kids because they're getting up there in age now. They're now coming of age. They're now, starting to become young adults and everything. Maybe they can be the icebreakers that WWE fans and the WWE is looking for. But I'm very curious what Martha would say under those conditions. And, my challenge to anybody that is able to be in a position where you can interview Martha Hart, credit what I'm saying here today and be like, hey, here's a really good idea. We heard this from, Lee Sanders of the RCWR Show, the first guy to really put this out there. What do you think? Could you agree to terms like that? You want to talk about monetary? You think they're going to make a buck off you? Okay, here you go. Here's the counter for that. What do you got now? What do you have to say now? I'm just very curious. And, I've talked about this off and on over the years, and I've never been one to pick a side. I understand both sides of the coin, especially with regards to where Martha is coming from. It's very sad. It's very unfortunate, but at some point, you gotta let that go, because if you continue to harbor it, it just manifests into this black, ugly thing that results in you not living life and not really properly having that closure that you so desperately need.